Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram language design review, part of our incremental language development series. And looks like we have several topics for today.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
The first section here is basically a list of functions that we've identified that we are hoping to get done for the next release cycle. And I wanted to hopefully briefly touch on each of them just a little bit because it's been a while since we've discussed some of them and make sure the design is largely squared away. So this is something we talked about not terribly long ago, but the idea is rather than we have things like URL encode, URL decode, capitalize, which are fairly specialized. There are a number of things we've looked at that deal with somewhat similar, but maybe slightly more esoteric.
I agree. I think this is good. I think we should also support capitalize and other such things which have their own special functions within this. What is the way of doing inverse? So this is, in other words, one way to think about this is like translation, like language translation, where you say, German arrow English, English arrow French type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I could imagine we have slugified arrow something, arrow camel cased.
Mm-hmm.
Is that realistic, or is that not unique enough to be able to do that?
Most of these are reasonably invertible, so it would not be super prohibitive to do that. We may have some lossy operations, if you have text that has hyphens in it to begin with, once you slugify it, you don't know that those were pre-existing, but they probably would be processed out. And
right, but that's like saying you don't know it's French and you're
right.
going to translate it.
Yeah.
And if you, by default, it assumes, in our case here, by default, it assumes it's ordinary text that hasn't been cameled or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you put in a camel, then you're going to get out a lizard or something,
Okay. Yeah. If it's garbage input and you say it's something else, then you might get a weird result, but that's on you.
But in particular, if you say you give an input that is camel cased and you say snake cased, it's not going to do it. It's just going to take that and make it just to return the camel case thing. But if you say camel case arrow snake case, then it could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Well, is that really the design we want? It seems to me like
I think
maybe there's too much. I don't know, maybe it's too ambiguous, but it just seems to me like
I don't think we can detect. I don't think we can auto detect it. I'd be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, to me, you're asking, is there an automatic case that we can auto detect? Maybe we shouldn't. We need a name for the plain text. Maybe it is just plain text. Okay, and then some of these things like slugified, it probably is slugified, right? As opposed to slugify, which is because these other ones like camel cases is arguably a noun.
Yeah. URL encode, URL decode are a little different, but those are
what about URL encoded?
Yeah, I guess
URL encoded, capitalized. We could accept as input the non-possible form.
Yeah, and there are potentially, like slugify is also sometimes called kebab case, so we can have alternative.
Yeah, sure. I think so.
Right. So one, right. So one of the functions that alpha has is lowercase d camel, right? So you take something in camel case and you turn it back into ordinary text. And yes. I wonder, so do we need that, or do we need like a normal or something to undo these?
Well, I think we're going to say lower camel case arrow plain.
It's not lower camel case arrow plain. It's camel case arrow plain, right? Lowercase d camel takes, rather than just sticking in spaces, will take the spaces and also decapitalize the initial letters.
Okay, fine, but then okay, so look, I don't understand that case, but I mean, basically, what one should be able to say, snake case, arrow, camel case. So we could say snake case. We could say, for example, here might be a really good one: URL encoded, arrow, camel case.
I want to take something machine readable and make it human readable.
Yep.
I really wonder how useful that would be, but
well, I mean, it's I don't know whether that particular one is the right one, but I mean, I think there are plenty of things like taking our function names, which are camel cased, and putting them with dashes in between. That's something that's quite useful for putting, making websites that are easy to find and things like this. This is a nice function. All right, so do you want to say more about this right now?
Title case would probably be a useful one too.
Yeah, title case. The variants that we have in capitalized would naturally go here.
Yes. And people might find them more easily here too. Now, once we got a decent number of them, it's just going to be the go-to function for this. But it's good to have capitalized as well, because that's an idea that one thinks of, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more to say about this function?
Yeah, I don't see any immediate issues with the arrow syntax, so I'll use that as the initial mock. This kind of feeds in nicely to at least part of generate password. So in looking at this, there's basically two main schemas for generating passwords. One is generating effectively random passwords that are, have high entropy, but are generally not memorable. And the second is to generate memorable passwords, which have some similar schema, but are designed to be memorable for people. So, and in general, they have similar parameters. So like here's a screenshot of an interface for generating memorable passwords, where you basically have bits you can turn on and off, and then you can theoretically also customize padding characters or separator characters, or how many words you want, or how long the words should be.
Look, most of the time, the real use case here is I just want to make up a random password and put it in my password manager. And, all these details about include letters, include numbers, whatever. Honestly, there's a default which just says, just give me a frigging password that's reasonably secure. And that's what that should do.
Right.
And the password that satisfies whatever the current computer security recommendations are for a secure password. Okay, I think that will be the case that people use 99% of the time. Now, I think it would be the case. It might be the case.
I kind of don't agree, because lots of websites have different restrictions on their passwords, and so
who
if
has an upper limit? Who has an upper limit password?
It's not upper limit. It's not upper limits. It's, you must include special characters. You can't include special characters.
Who has you can't include special characters?
I
don't believe
there'll be requirements that you have to have some special characters, and it'll be
exactly
different sets of special characters for different people.
I make a point about this. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so let's do the following. Let's ask somebody who deals with computer security stuff, which is not what we have in this meeting. But it is my contention that, I know like a, random password manager that I use, right, has a generate a password type thing, and it has parameters in it. But I'm pretty certain I've never had a case where when it generates a random password that won't work in the website I'm trying to enter it into.
I've definitely run into the opposite, but
okay, in what situation?
I mean, random consumer websites will have things like, saying, special characters not allowed, or you must
Really?
insert 2 special characters.
Wait, wait, wait.
It's
Really?
generally a poor
Really?
security practice.
Yeah,
but
like you can't
There-
have white
there is no
space in your
standard.
character. Or they might be worried about code injection. So certain things,
Mhm.
you know,
I think these are things of the past, but maybe I'm wrong.
they
I
should
mean-
be. But
Well, maybe there's
I don't-
there's websites that were set up 300 years ago that before anybody had even invented electricity or whatever, that have that stuff.
there
But-
was some bill I was trying to pay. The username had to be maximum 48 characters, but the password had to be maximum 16 characters. Just made me want to tear my hair out.
That's incredibly stupid. Somebody just got it wrong. They had some cut rate programmer somewhere who just got the numbers switched around.
Although, I mean, if the point is to just copy this and paste it into your password manager, who would ever use this rather than just click the button in their password manager?
Well, you might be using our keychain management system. Right? Remember, what this needs to flow nicely into our crypto stuff and our keychain management stuff. Right? I mean, I admit that I have not used I haven't used our keychain stuff. Have other people here used it? I mean, it was built with great effort, and I really meant to use it, and I just haven't had a chance to do it. Yeah, system credential. You know how this works?
Well, poorly.
What do you mean by poorly?
experimental, isn't it? Yeah.
Why do you
Well-
think it works poorly?
Well, it doesn't work on the Biblis machines, and I have no idea why.
Aren't they Linux machines?
Yeah, so
Well,
so
we should
system credential isn't a Mac specific.
No, I know that, but it's implemented differently on different machines, different machine types. It's either implemented with the system keychain or it's implemented with some other thing whose name I now forget on Linux.
Well,
It's possible it's set up to use the operating system keychain.
right. Well, I mean, it works on my home Linux machine, but it doesn't work on the Biblis machines, i.e.,
so-
poorly.
Okay, so guys,
But
then somebody whoever's doing project management here, Avery, could you chase that particular issue to figure out why that's sounds like that's a sysadmin issue, a combination sysadmin and development issue.
I don't think that's a sysadmin issue.
Okay, well, let's find
But-
out. Find out. Somebody knows what's special about those machines. So let's start with that and find out why it doesn't work on those machines. Okay.
And
I mean, it could be a sysadmin issue where they disabled the service that is running the keychain.
no, because it's filed back, but whatever.
Okay.
I doubt it. I'm willing to bet that it's not a sysadmin issue.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
But and even if they did, then you should get an error message about the services.
I understand. Let's stop complaining about that particular issue. We'll
Okay,
get that.
well,
issue, but
You're the
but-
one who's making such a big deal of it.
No, but I'm
but-
saying that look, the system credential thing is a place where you might seriously use generate password. Do we agree?
Yes.
Maybe.
It
well,
should be.
Right here. This is a typical case where we've got, system credential where I've got something where I'm going to type in a friggin' password. Right?
And you could just say generate password is the right-hand side of password.
Right. Which means I don't even have to worry. It's in there. I don't even see it. It's just put in there. It just works, I hope.
Yeah. And I guess my point with the options or the parameters here is that we obviously want a good default that follows good modern security practices. I think there is merit to having the ability to disable numbers or symbols or
All right. So may I
explicitly
make a
list them.
suggestion? Let's
Mhm.
do this the same way we do it for the cryptography stuff.
Mhm.
So if I say generate asymmetric key pair,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh God, this is such a stupid bug. When I hit return at this point, it should go to the autocomplete. It should not go to the partial completion. I've said this like 100 times. Avery, could you
I
change?
disagree. I disagree, and I think most people disagree with you on that point.
Well, there's something different that happens in search engines and other websites that just seems to just work. So let's figure out what that is, and let's see why we're not doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so here, the way this works, which I think is pretty good, is it has a default, and then it has an association that you can give, I think, if I remember correctly, that is some very fancy association that has, that allows you to specify all sorts of, see,
Yeah, you want it to be an electric curve with, okay.
Well, that's a method option, but I think you can specify. I'm not sure exactly how this works, but I think this is the pattern to follow.
Okay. Yeah, that gives us flexibility where.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to do because I can imagine a case where there's some wacky, where TalkTick decides or something, some future service decides that they're going to do something cute where every password has to have a Pig Latin phrase in it or something, and and then we'll eventually want to support that. Just like what we have noticed with blockchains and with cryptography is there's you see, we have keys suitable for Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. So what we could imagine here with generate password is something, if it's needed, keys suitable for blah. Make sense?
Yeah. Or if they're named password standards, we could use them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So we should find out about those things. But I think this is the, and again, just like generate asymmetric key pair, the default case, I mean, I'm sure if I run this, why doesn't that autocomplete? That should autocomplete. That's a bug. That's an Avery thing to report. Okay, got it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I got it.
Okay. So, I mean, this will be a thing suitable for Ethereum. This is exactly the kind of way we want to do it for passwords, that you're going to generate a password that is suitable for, see, the different sizes, private key size, public key size, etc. They're different. Make sense?
Yep. Makes sense to me.
Okay. Let us proceed. Now, I mean, probably you want something which is just generate password and then just a number here, which just says how long the password is. As a simple case of a simple default case, that's a kind of a ramp down from the association.
Yep. And then potentially you could say you want n passwords of length blah, but that's maybe.
Oh.
It's something generally when you're.
I'm not sure that's useful.
Password generator, it's certainly more common with memorable passwords. Generate me 5 memorable passwords and I'll pick the one I like.
I see.
Update my keychain manager and I don't like battery horse staple. I want apricot bee wax.
Yeah, right. Okay, I understand. Well, that's an interesting case.
But we could
potentially. That's a second argument, but that is right. So maybe what it looks like is generate password memorable, 10 or something. Or alternatively, I mean, I would call it words, 10. That's going to need a language.
Usually called diceware.
What's it called?
Diceware.
I never heard that term. Sounds like we may need some alternatives. But by the way, if we're doing this,
there's a Wikipedia article for it. It's like you number a bunch of words. You number a bunch of words from the dictionary and roll dice was the original thing.
Well, nice. But I mean, since we have the capability, we might as well also support language settings for that. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Since we can easily do it.
Yeah, we'd basically just be working at word lists for those
languages
anyway. So
just take word list and we I mean, that's really all we're doing. And I mean, we can be a little bit cuter because we can probably do the noun word list. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Again, if we have association for defining parameters, you can say I want nouns or I want words of length 5 or 5 to 8 or whatever. We can have those parameters for filtering.
Yes, but I think I tend to think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of these things use nouns, not verbs, in their random sequences. Is that true?
Most of the password generators I've seen do that.
Right. Well, since we have word list with nouns, I mean, it's really quite simple. We're basically just saying random sample word list, noun, comma, 10 or something, and we'll get 10 random nouns. I mean, it's really kind of easy.
The EFF has also put out lists of words for this exact purpose.
Huh. Okay. Well, that would be a useful thing to have. It might even be useful for word lists to have that.
Yeah.
It certainly will be useful in the data repository.
Okay. Yeah. We'll follow that as
Oh, yeah,
another
okay.
related thread.
Yeah, I see that listed here. That's a good idea. Right. That's a good idea to also remove. Isn't it funny that cryptanalysis comes up as one of the random words? I mean, also, actually, the truth is that if somebody's put out a good list of words, that probably includes words where the spelling is easy. Like
Right.
spelled like that, it's not really a good one because it's not phonetic relative to the other version of fairy.
Right.
So I like that idea, but I think that idea, data repository and/or actual word list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Actually, random words should definitely support that concept of a a kind of easy to know, easy to recognize word type thing. So that's a thing for, I don't know who maintains random word. I suspect
it's mostly me and also Alan's group.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, fine.
We have types there, and
By the way, I thought this had been fixed years ago to put a small space in that case, so it doesn't look like a rectangle there. Avery, another thing that's for the documentation team, I guess.
Got it.
Okay, on to the next thing. These are two good functions we got to find here, so let's go to the next thing. From character name.
So this is basically the inverse operation for character name. We looked at a WFR version of this and spec'd out the idea that we would also be able to specify what type of character name it comes from. This is kind of just a toy version of it, but
okay, but isn't what we really want here an interpreter? I mean, in other words, to have the formal Unicode name with all the capitalization and so on, where would you even get that from? Isn't the thing you really want the thing where you, like in an interpreter, give the name of the character you want as a natural language, and then this gives you the character? I'm confused by the use case for this, basically. I understand the use case. Well, okay, hold on. HTML name, I understand that use case. See, common name, that's going to be like an interpreter, right? Because I mean, at some point, what I want to be able to say is, don't we have an interpreter for character name?
We do have a character interpreter.
But I think that means something different, doesn't it?
Well, it returns back a character entity, but you can.
Okay, but then this has a from entity thing, is that right?
It should.
What the hell? That's weird. That's probably a bug.
Yeah.
But now, if I say here, how do I even see what it is? Where is it? Where is the actual Unicode?
Is it glyph?
The glyph's a polygon, though.
No.
Yeah.
That's really stupid. I mean, where's its Unicode value?
I would have assumed there would be one there. I can.
Yeah, something
ask
has gone
someone
wrong.
else.
But so
Isn't the thing that interpreters for unstructured natural language and
Yes.
front character name is like basically just a lookup?
yes,
Like it has
that
to be
would
exact.
normally be the way that it works, right? So which is why I'm a little bit confused, because here how distinguished, like HTML name and tech name, both are distinguishable by their structure.
Yeah,
Right.
Unicode as well, generally.
Well, standard name certainly is. See, I think that what we could do here, I'm not even sure that that one, we could maybe do that one as a courtesy. Probably it's unambiguous.
Mhm.
Standard name and long name are the same, aren't they? But
I-
common name is something quite different.
Yeah. I think there are some cases where standard name and long name are different.
Yeah, common name is the label for the entity formatting.
Yeah, I know. Okay, but I don't think we should support that here. I think that's an interpreter thing.
All right.
I think these other ones which are canonical, why don't you see whether that will work? To have, things for which there is a standard name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the tech name really needs to be the /xi thing. And the HTML name, the ampersand, whatever thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that way, then it's
That's
unambiguous.
the appropriate markup.
Right.
I'm think I missed something. So are you talking about both specifying HTML name and including it?
No.
Or if it includes, then we infer that it's the HTML name?
Yes. Because there's no other meaningful thing that could happen. If we see from character name, ampersand alpha, whatever it is, that we got that. We see, /alpha. We got tech. We know that that isn't our standard name, right?
Right.
If we see, alpha like this, we know it's a standard name. And perhaps as a courtesy, although I'm less, excited about it, we could support, things like this, the Unicode name with its ridiculous capitalization, which will eventually go away. I'm less keen to do that, but I think it's okay to do that. Meanwhile, we should have something which is either it's just interpreter. Yeah, the problem is interpreter returns. What do we have? Well, I think we have versions of interpreter that return different kinds of things. So what we want is a version of the character interpreter which returns the raw character, so to speak. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, like interpreter number doesn't return an entity.
Yes, right.
I guess I can ask. I don't know offhand, but I'm sure Carla would know if there are examples where we have two related interpreter types that just have different return types.
I think so. I mean, I think that. Oh no, this is integer name. Is that right? What the hell
That's
is
very
this?
strange.
Avery, this is for you to take a screenshot of and figure out what on earth is going on here.
I got it.
It looks like a horrible bug in 13.2, which needs to be fixed. What the hell is that? Oh, for goodness sake. What the hell is this? Well, whatever it is,
Well, I mean, the question is, what is bioformats link or what is?
no, why was it
did
coming up?
interpreter
Why did
decide
it come
to
up
call it?
in this case? This is a absolutely wrong situation
Yes.
and totally crazy. Oh, come on.
I wonder if it's a bad import call somewhere that's triggering.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But why didn't this come up with integer interpreter? That's another thing for Avery to go chase in the search system. Got it?
Yep, I have it.
It's crazy.
If you just search for integer, it's the second result that comes up, which isn't great, but at least
Yeah,
gets you
okay,
where you're
whatever.
going.
I know, but it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so the point here would be I see. Semantic integer is what we want.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, what we're going to need is an interpreter name. Again, this is something Carlo would know immediately. I mean, there clearly are cases here with held expression and active expression where those are variant return types.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have to say, I think it's a mistake that the character thing returns the entity.
Rather.
Yeah, rather than the actual character.
Well, it's definitely a mistake when you can't get the actual character out of the entity as well.
That's horrifying. Yeah.
We'll chase that part with Alan. And
Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Well, I think we got a direction here. Okay. Comap.
So there are futurized documentation pages for Comap and Comap apply. But this is what used to be headmap. The idea of provide a list of functions or a collection of functions and an argument to apply them to.
Comap, when I see it here, it blares category theory, which is not a good thing. I mean, not that I think there is. I don't even know if there's a thing called Comap in category theory, but there might be. It sounds like category theory. Anybody have a response to that? I'm still not totally sold on the name, is what I'm trying to say.
To me, that's a good thing.
Okay, well, that's a good start. Category theory has some very nice names in it. Very good naming. It's just a bit of a, alien language to most people. I feel like I actually more or less understand it now, which is good. I think you should say list here. And I think you should list it out, A1, A2, A3, or E1, E2, E3, and list here. And say,
So I used expert to follow map, which this would support arbitrary expressions.
I
not just
know.
lists.
Well,
I was thinking maybe an introductory note that's like completely spells out the list case.
I would think that was a good thing. Yes, because this is an obscure function to most people. I mean, map was an obscure function when we introduced it 35 years ago, but it isn't obscure anymore. Actually, Comap is a pretty decent name, given what it does. This is an awkward construction. because expr is an expression. I mean, I think we should say.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about using X. You know.
Well, I would call that first thing F list or some such other thing, or F expression or something like that, or FS or something for Fs. I think expr is really obscure there.
Like Fs, comma expr.
No, you can say X there. You can say X as the second piece.
I would say the clearest thing is what you said at the beginning, having a list, and then we explain that this works for more general cases.
Yeah, it says F1, F2, F3, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
X. Then it's understandable.
Can you open Comap apply and make sure that also makes sense there?
I mean, so that would be, so this would say, gives, you know, F1 of X, F2 of X, blah, blah, blah. Then it's really pretty clear what it does. Now, Comap apply of expr here. So the X is absolutely horrifying that you say X there, because that's where things are going to get funky. I mean,
Completely agree.
you could say either G of X here, and then show that this goes F1, F2, F3. No, because it isn't necessarily an X. It could be many things there. So we can just say expr, and then here, you know, we could say F at F1 at expr, possibly. F2 at expr, possibly.
So if we do this, can this be an additional usage message before the ones?
Yes, that's
here?
fine.
Okay.
That's fine, but you've got to rename the thing. You've got to call it F expr or something like that, or F list or something. F expr or something like that, not just expr.
My concern is the at thing wouldn't work if you had something other than a list.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I wouldn't use that. You can say it in words in the other one. I mean, you could just write this out as apply, you know, F1, comma expr. Why don't you do that? Comma F2, blah, 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 blah.
I think the at.
No, I don't think that is a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that we want to actually say apply here. This is already a complicated enough function. So this is, or alternatively, we could do, how is apply documented?
In words.
I mean, the documentation was written 35 years ago. Well, we could say gives the list, you know, for the list case, gives the list in which the head of expr is replaced by F1, F2, F3. That would be a reasonable way to start.
Yep.
All right, I admit this function is going to be useful, and its name is not that obscure. Okay, anything else on this one? Nope.
Nope, I think that should do it.
Okay.
Position cases is something we've had kicking around for a little while. Danny was starting to look into this following position largest, position smallest. It's basically a way to combine the work that position does with extract without having to run extract explicitly after the fact or cases after the fact.
Yes, I agree. This is a good idea. Whether the return format is right, I don't know. Whether it should be an association. I mean, to me, position cases, if that could return.
In some ways, it's kind of like wanting to have an index or an index markup for cases, right?
Yes, it is. But I mean, one way to do this would be to return the position followed by the case. because you know the positions are unique.
I have one like that in the function repository. I just put a link in
Position
the chat.
cases.
Yeah.
Seems sensible to me. I'm not sure that position cases.
I know. I think the other name was already taken by something else. So, in the
Yeah.
function repository.
It's very confusing.
So I think
I
if
like
I think if position cases was available, I would have taken it.
I like this functionality. I think this is useful because it's easy then to get keys and values easily get you the two things you want. Sound reasonable to people?
So we just promote this one.
Position cases, more or less. I mean, we have to look at the details, but more or less, yes.
Okay.
Good to me.
I mean, wouldn't we want to do this in C?
Yeah.
Whatever.
This one is just calling position and then extracting everything. So I'm could
Okay.
probably be done more efficient.
Well,
Or
yes,
the-
no, maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows? Okay, but we're doing design here, not the implementation. Okay.
One advantage to the implementation is that it would be amenable to using things like compile or the newer version thereof.
Mm-hmm. Which you should look at, whether this can be done with the compiler. It might be possible. Okay. Block protected. This seems very reasonable to me. Name block protected. Well, block random allows you to create random numbers with a seeding. By the way, one thing that I'd like to suggest, all these functions like, random sample and so on, I find myself a million times doing seed random, random sample, blah, blah, blah. And the truth is, all I really want is a hash, a random sample where it is a repeatable, just give me some random sample. Get what I'm saying? Maybe
you want the seed back.
Well, I don't know. I don't care about getting the seed back. I'd be happy if this had, what do we call it now? Is this random seed or?
Yeah.
No, random seeding. It's random seeding. Right, random seeding. See, I'd be happy to have something like this because I just think it's stupid in my code. I say seed random, I don't block it. See what I'm saying? But really what I'm doing is I want a repeatable random sequence. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do I need to repeat?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the best
Right,
method
I mean,
of doing it is.
random generators are not reversible, right? So I think you're asking for the impossible.
No, I'm not asking for that. Let me explain.
Like use a hash of the
Okay.
expression as the seed before you evaluate.
No,
Something like that.
No, it's not as complicated as any of that. It's really simple. Okay. I'm trying to make a picture, right? I got some array plot of some lovely cellular automaton. Okay. I say random integer, 1,400. I say, I want to get this picture. I want it always to be the same picture. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's wrong with doing an explicit seeding before that?
It's just an ugly piece of code. I mean, I can do this, but then it spews that random seed out into the rest of my code. See, I'm really just trying to locally, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a kind of random sequence where essentially I want a named random sequence, right? Where its name is that random integer there. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, and I agree, having written some of this code, that putting the seed random out front makes a mess of things.
But I have no idea what you're asking for.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well,
I'm asking
either.
could
for,
there just be an option to?
yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about, this would be an example of how we could do this. We just say random seeding, arrow, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And that is equivalent to block random of random seed of blah, and then undo the block random.
Yeah, but I think that you don't even need to call the option random seeding. Seed would probably be fine. There's enough redundancy there.
No, that's not relevant. It's already, that option is already named in other functions, random seeding.
I think there's a reason why we did not do this, but I would need to think about why it was.
Well, have a think, because I really need this. I mean, it's just inelegant. I mean, you can do this. It's just kind of looks kind of silly, right? And it doesn't block. It's sloppy because it doesn't do a block random.
Of course it doesn't, right? Because you don't
I
want
know,
to.
because I didn't tell it to, right? But I'm saying that the use case that I have for this, I usually want to do a block random. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. I mean,
Subject to the caveat that maybe Itai
I mean,
does have a good reason
block,
not to.
right? Block random takes a random seeding, right? So
yes, I understand. I could do this with block random. I just don't want all those characters, type it in,
Yeah.
It's like, I just want a simple way to do it, which this is. All right, so can we please look into whether this was, let's just have this for another meeting. We look into whether there was a problem with this, and if there isn't, I think we should implement it. Now, block protected. The issue is its name. I mean, basically, it wants to, I see, you're saying maybe it wants to be block unprotect.
Right. Yeah, I'm
Probably not unprotected, but block unprotect.
Mhm.
Actually, block unprotect does seem somewhat reasonable. Comments from people? Okay, if there are no comments, I think that's the way we should implement it.
well, Stephen, give people an opportunity to think.
Okay, all right, fine.
I mean, my initial right. I mean, I think block, to me, block protected makes more sense, right? Block random. What are the block things we have? Right.
Yeah, because I think I set that up, the one, the function repository, so it works either way. So if it's unprotected going into the block, I make sure it's unprotected going out as well. So it just preserves the
state.
protected attribute, whether or not it's there.
Why would it ever make it protect? I mean, you're saying if it needs to unprotect, it will unprotect, but only temporarily. If it doesn't need to unprotect, it won't. It doesn't do anything. It just does whatever is inside the body of the block. Correct?
Yeah, I think the way I set it, it was a long time ago I wrote this one. The way I set it up, where it's just locally scoping the protected attribute in that block, and it's just restoring it afterwards, regardless of what happens.
I get it. I understand. But I mean, the only functional case there, I see. So if within that block you did protect, it would blow away the protection that you put within that block.
Yeah, and I don't know
Not
if there's
obviously
any real
correct.
use cases for that,
I'm
but
not
that's,
sure that's really
yeah.
correct. I think it's more useful to call this block unprotect, because I think that is the case people are going to be thinking about is, I've got this thing, it's protected, I want to temporarily unprotect it.
I was actually thinking of temporary unprotect. My problem with the block is that it can have this double meaning of block of.
But they both mean block, just different block meanings.
Yeah.
About unprotect, protect?
No, because it's applying it to a piece of code. That's the point. Protect is something you apply to a symbol. I mean, the thing that's in there is a piece of code. I think given that we've gone down the path of block random, I think block unprotect makes the most sense.
If that, but the right block random blocks randomness. So block protect blocks protectedness.
I know that's an argument. I think it's one of these things where I think I don't think anybody will know what it does if we call it block protect, because it is protecting. But block unprotect, you could argue, blocks unprotectedness. See what I'm saying? It temporarily, it scopes the unprotectedness.
Okay.
Right. Let's continue.
So this is a function we discussed some time ago that would add coordinates to an array of data.
I think this is useful. I think this is, I've needed this a million times, where it's something where you've got a list of data and it's kind of like a junior map indexed.
Right. And it will understand dates and geo and various things. We have actually discussed calling it coordinatize the last time.
Yes. How do the general relativists here feel about that?
Sorry?
How do the general relativists here feel about calling it coordinatize? It's not
like
totally ridiculous. I mean, it seems, in other words, it's taking I think it's a sufficiently useful function that I think calling it something like coordinatize would be not crazy. I mean, I just worry about the day when we have some kind of manifold and we're wanting to coordinatize it, and then we're, oh gosh, this thing means something completely different.
What exactly does this function do?
It takes, so imagine you have a list and it simply returns the thing that you would put, okay, list plot by default just assumes that successive entries have, successive x coordinates, right?
Mm-hmm.
This explicifies that. Right, you've got the y sub I in a list, and this will put in 1, y1, 2, y2, 3, y3, etc. And the general case of that. It is definitely a function. I mean, what is the shape here? Why does it need a shape?
Well, so we take the data, the shape specifies like the ranges of coordinates. So you don't have to specify the axis fully. You can say from 0 to 10 in steps of 2.
I understand, but okay, hold on. So one case is it's got natural coordinates that are based on its, its part numbers, right?
Yep.
And the other case is you are redistributing the coordinates by rescaling them, numerically rescaling them.
Should that be a data range option?
Well, that would be closer to what it is, but also we have several functions that do this now. I mean, like an axis does this as well, does some kind of rescaling like this. I think we need to look at how that rescaling really works.
I'm not sure what to make of the second input. So I've now decoded the first input, but what is the 149050 supposed to do?
Well, that would return 2501, 25459.
Right. So in other words, it's taking the coordinate axis, the x coordinates, and it's saying the range of x coordinates is 0 to 50.
Right.
Now these things are going to be evenly spaced, subdividing the 0 to 50 interval.
Right.
So, and is that because it's an comma rather than an arrow, or is it inferring it from the fact that it's, oh, that's a 2-argument form, never mind.
Right. So
So the
the
first
first-
argument, okay, so that's why you're calling that the shape.
Mhm. Right.
Right. So in the first
Yeah,
one,
'cause it could be a
it's sort of
two-dimensional thing.
an implicit 1 to length is 1 comma length of first thing.
But also the other question is this could be a two-dimensional. The first array could be a two-dimensional array,
Right.
and you could end up with something where you want it to have, the list you want to inject at the lowest level of the array. Attach. Actually, you could want it both ways around, couldn't you? No, you only want it at the lowest level. It only makes sense at the lowest level.
Right. So the first array can be any depth, and the second it's a bounds specification. Actually, the first pair could be numbers, the second could be dates, etc. And it will insert the corresponding object at that position.
Yes. But at the lowest position, if the thing is of depth D, if the initial thing is of depth D,
Mhm.
it will insert it at the Dth level.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, I like this function. I think it's going to take a few more minutes. I just want to, because I'm a little bit impatient to see these other ones, and then we have to go. Let's just this function seems good, and I think coordinators is the right thing, and I think we should just get more detail about it.
Mhm. So this is a small thing from the times where we're working with pair functions, fold pair, etc.
This is going to make my brain hurt. Let's. Oh gosh, what was this for? This is for. Yeah, I mean, this is very related to coordinatize.
Yes, in a sense.
Because it's the leaf operation of coordinatize, I think. Maybe. No, not quite.
Yes, with an application of a function. And then around form. So this is something that has been requested for around, which is controlling like confidence levels and
Yes.
and so we have two possible open paths here. One is to insert that information in around itself, and the other one is to follow quantity and have a form function that.
I think we should have a form, because I think the most common case is you've got a whole bunch of data, you've got some data table. If it's only one thing you're trying to do it with, then just put the around form around the one thing. It's easy enough to do. But the fact that you can do it around a bunch of things is really useful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, this we're not really going to look at. I'm just curious what's in it. Yeah, these are all pretty damn complicated. Well, some of them we can take off persistent expressions. We probably have that one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that corresponded to things like local
Persistent value.
object to
Yeah, I
persistent
think so.
value. Yeah. Okay.
This one, talking of around form, this one here is one that I really want. Really want this. I'm so fed up with when I, having to type in, that the canonical ordering is annoying enough in itself. But the fact that, every time if I have -x plus 1, I don't want to see that. I want to see 1 minus x. I can get that in traditional form, but it's just super annoying. And I think having more control over our polynomial and similar simple math formatting using some kind of bank switching mechanism would be a really good idea. For what it's worth. All right. Well, these are all kinds of yeah. This is interesting, and yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Yeah, we got a lot of things here too. All right, lots of fascinating stuff coming in the future. I mean, I think let's wrap it up here, unless we want to.
I think that's
Anybody
good.
want to?
We'll have Christopher again next week, so we'll be able to talk about some of the more design heavy
Fine.
stuff as well.
I think coordinatize. I mean, the only thing that's bothering me here. You know, it's possible that this thing here could be that we could do this, that we could have something like that. It's bothering me that it's the third argument, because I think it's going to be quite common that you will say make an association, but the shape is the fault. Is this making sense?
So what's the I don't understand the difference between the previous and there.
Look. Because I think this is going to be very common.
I see.
I think
I see.
that case is going to be like super common.
Mhm.
And not as common as the list case, but I think it's going to be I don't know what some of the other cases here are. What does it look like? Okay, in the case
So the,
of
the difference here is that you may want to have flattened XYZ data or the pair list XYZ comma data. So that's
Yeah.
the difference controlled by flattened.
I understand.
And so, so for example, that makes a difference in things like interpolation. So interpolation takes the pair.
I mean, I
case.
just wonder whether instead of that, there could just be a function that is the final processing function that is fed, you know, just like paired there. It's basically fed the position and the you know, it's fed the coordinates and the thing.
Yes, but with association, for example, it wouldn't work, right? Because it's
That's
not
the
just a
outer
rule.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. It is one of these FG cases.
Yeah.
So F would be rule, G would be association.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not sure. We should come back to this.
Yeah, I will implement a first version and then we play with
Sounds
it.
good. All right. Good stuff. I noticed Ethan mentioning insert axis or map counted. They're both interesting names, but I'm not buying them because axis is just another. It's a concept we just don't have here. It's a concept we could have had, but we don't have it.
Prepend might also work like prepend coordinates, because are you putting the coordinates in front of the numbers?
Yes, except you're not really prepending if you're making an association.
Right.
Yeah, or if there's multiple coordinates, it's not really a prepend, but
So I think coordinators is a perfectly nice name. I mean, I'm just wondering whether the association case is so common that it might need its own, you know, I don't know if that case is so common. I think the case, the flattened versus non-flattened case. Well, I mean, there's, see, so one case is the superstructure of data is preserved in the output. The other case is you've just got disembodied X, Y, F type things floating around in a flattened object. Is that right?
So in one case, the data gets a new level at the deepest level, which is the pair of the coordinates and of the position and the value, and in another case is all flattened.
Yeah, I understand. So I mean, one case is that it basically is just a whole big list of X, Y, Fs.
Exactly.
As opposed to the structure of the XY grid structure being preserved.
So the other case I have in mind is the same thing, but XY is wrapped in a list.
Oh, well, I've got two different cases for you then.
Okay.
Okay. Because, okay, so let me show you then. So if I say array, you know, A 3, 3. Okay, so now one case here is I say map. Yeah, okay, so these are the two cases. Map indexed, you know, #2, #1. 1, 2. Okay, so that's your one case, right?
Right. That's the unflattened case.
Right. Okay, so then you are imagining this case here.
Mhm.
Okay, but I'm imagining yet another case, which is this case. Well, actually, it could be either case. I even take this case here,
Oh, I see.
concatenate of that.
Yes, or a flattened one around it. Yes, I guess that's what I was controlling with list versus array in the next line. But yes, you're right. This is an independent freedom.
Yeah. Well, it's in the F comma G type family, right? Because this is, if the G is the sub operation, the F is yeah, it's very map reducey.
Mhm.
You know, there's
So,
a,
so is the association case if you have like the last one you just did, but you'd have something like 1, 1 goes to A,
might
1,
be.
2 go to A.
That's one case of it. I mean, look, this is an FG thing. So here, for example, what we'd be doing here is we'd say rule instead of flatten. And that was pretty silly. Okay. And then we would say association. Now, again, we could have a nested association. We have that in file system map. Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, there are several freedoms here.
Mhm.
I mean, that there, the F is association of catenative hash.
But
And the
you might
G,
actually want a two-dimensional association.
which is yet a separate thing, an association of associations.
Yeah.
All right, more thought here, but good stuff. All right, time to go. See you guys soon. Bye.